Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in once again to What Women Want Talk Radio. I'm Judy Goss, and I'm here with my awesome co-host, Kristen West. I hope everyone enjoyed the July 4th holiday. I sure did. Spent a little time on the beach at some people's houses. It was terrific. And I'm back to 150 miles per hour this week already, or maybe 200 miles per hour. Our show tonight is Your Brand is Everything. And Lord, do I know that, because my brand is my company. And it's such a delicate balance between branding yourself with or as your business and then navigating through your personal life, which really rolls over to your career and vice versa. Sometimes there's no separation. Well, Joan Pelzer, founder of Joan Pelzer Media in New York City, is a radio show host and a networking strategist. She's actually my social media manager for my company, What Women Want Networking. And she will clue us in tonight on just how very important it is to work both sides together. Or not. That depends on your industry. And Paula Conway, founder of Astonish Media, also in New York City, will give her perspective from handling publicity in the big bad city of New York for high-profile clients and personalities. But if you're a small business or even a freelancer, there are tips and tricks you need to know about this branding thing. Okay. In the meantime, I want to thank all of your listeners out there, because after 3 years of airing What Women Want here on LA Talk Radio, we've passed 750,000 downloads. We still get so excited every single show, and I know you do also. So I just want to thank you. And I want to give a shout out to Lucy Brummett, her lulalucy.com website. She's always plugging our show. And Jane Bishop, too. I see you out there. Take the next step, cct.com. You guys are fantastic. Thank you for supporting us, and for everyone else who's listening out there, too. We want to show you our appreciation. So if you want to listen to past shows, go to LA Talk Radio's website archives, latalkradio.com, or subscribe to us on iTunes or Google Play. You'll hear some of our celebrity guests in the past who have been with us, like former O.J. Simpson prosecutor Marsha Clark, five-time Olympian Jackie Edwards, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff author Dr. Christine Carlson was on, and just recently former Today Show anchor Jenna Wolf was on, and also the co-founder of Guilt, Alexandra Wilkes Wilson. She was telling us how she built Guilt to $1 billion business just in 3 years. So we always have captivating conversations with the most incredible women. And you know what? Some of the best shows have been with women you may never have heard of and haven't heard their names, but they're so, each one of them, phenomenal in their very own ways. And they're so inspiring. And that's really how we learn, right? Is listening to these women's stories and what they're about. Okay, a little about my story. Besides being the host of this incredible radio show, I'm also a TV host, a regular contributor on NBC and Fox. I'm an entrepreneur. I founded the nationally acclaimed What Women Want networking group 6 years ago, with several live chapters spanning from coast to coast. I'm a St. Martin's Press author, a freelance writer for New York Lifestyles magazine, and I'm the mom of twin girls who just turned 13. Oh my gosh, 2 teenage girls in the house. Quite interesting over here. What Women Want Networking, same name as our show, is having our first national women's conference called Spirit of Women in Atlanta at the Westin Peachtree Plaza. That's the Westin downtown, October 7th through 8th. You can go to spiritofwomenconference.com for more info. Early bird tickets are on sale for 3 more days only. Okay, you save $100 off the $350 price. We have women registered so far for the conference from South Carolina to California to Seattle, Washington, even from Canada. This is going to be one epic event. Let me tell you, the conference features VIP sponsor womenforone.com, Kelly McNellis. She's got millions of subscribers on her website and is running a workshop along with the founder of Revenue Breakthroughs, Monica Shaw. She's our money expert and the founder of souljourneys.ca, business energetics expert, Jennifer Longmore. She's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks, actually, to tell us exactly what a business energetics expert is. And we're also thrilled to have keynote Dr. Robbie Ludwig coming in from New York City. She's an award-winning TV reporter and psychotherapist. And along with Melissa Carter, of course, the famed radio show host in Atlanta. She's also the first openly gay radio show host in the country, actually, and so many more incredible personalities. So join us. 3 days left for your early bird ticket, spiritofwomenconference.com. And we have a few discounted hotel rooms left also. I think about 4 or 5 left. So, okay, let's talk about Kristen, my co-host, Kristen West. She is an award-winning actress and producer. Her film, Seeking Valentina, has been announced as an official selection at the Hollywood Dreams Film Festival in Las Vegas. She can also be seen in the upcoming films The Spirit Room, Hell's Kitty, and The Lich, all due out later this year. Kristen, I see that you've branded yourself as an actress, producer, even an inspirational blogger. And the first thing you said you thought when you thought of branding was cows. But what are some of the things you do to keep everything consistent?
I try to keep the language at which I communicate about myself and the things I care about in the same sort of spirit or tone. That's one thing. And I try to use as much pink as possible because I like pink, and I think it suits my brand and what I'm trying to convey well. So I pay attention a lot to the colors that I use when I'm making promotional materials. And I also, it even goes down to what I wear sometimes on the red carpet. I tend to play fantastic characters, like fantasy characters. I tend to play characters that can be dignified, so queenly characters. So I try and even dress the part even when I'm not acting, when I'm just out in public.
Now, why pink? You do a lot of horror films, right? Produce and you star in them. Why pink?
The reason is that a lot of people in horror will brand themselves in black and maroon or black and
like
red.
Goth type of outfits.
I wanted to step away from that and use that as a vehicle to expand is more. I love horror. Don't get me wrong. I love horror. I love screaming at people while they're in the shower, but I'm getting paid to do it. But I wanted to be able to grow that image as more opportunities expand for me. So I took the long view instead of the short view on that.
Well, that's interesting. I'm going to ask both of our experts about you, a little psychoanalyze you there about being a horror film actress and wearing pink and all that, because you have to be really careful on how to combine your image and your branding and all that kind of good stuff. So let's bring on Joni to see what she has to say.
I'm so excited.
Hello.
Hi, Joni.
Hi.
Well,
hi, Kristen. Hi, Judy.
Joan Pelzer is first and foremost a connector, which is one of the reasons she has taken the reins as the New York City chapter director of What Women Want Networking, in addition to being the national social media strategist. And Joan is an entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Joan Pelzer Media, LLC, a social media marketing agency. Joan also co-hosts a weekly radio show on Talking Alternative Broadcasting in New York City. Joan, welcome back.
Thank you, Kristen. I'm so excited to be talking with you ladies tonight, and I love pink too.
Well, I am so glad we agree on that. And Joan, one of the things about our show is it's you're very intimately a part of this family, and I want you to let us know, for those of us who have not had the pleasure of listening to you and getting acquainted with you, I want to know more about your background and your media company.
Thank you. So it's so interesting that this is the topic about branding being everything, because for the longest time I kind of resisted who and what I was. And it wasn't really until I started my own social media agency and really became an entrepreneur that I am really living my brand. So I love pink. I love dressing down. I don't love putting on a business suit every day and going into an office every day. I love talking to people and meeting with people. So it kind of made sense. I kind of started my business almost by chance. I didn't even know I had a business. And I sat with a friend who was also a business coach one day, and she said, "Give me your credit card. You're going to take my weekend workshop." And I realized, I already have a business. I'm just not really charging money for it.
So you really discovered an opportunity for you to really get paid to be your best self in a way.
Absolutely. And right now I'm wearing a pink and navy blue jumpsuit, which I kind of call a onesie because I use like children terminology, and I think I'm wearing a onesie today. And I'm wearing a pink, it's a very harem genie looking outfit, but it's what makes me comfortable. And it does not mean I'm less professional. It does not mean I'm not smart. It's got pink in it, and it makes me be really who I am and speak how and who I am. And so I think that doing that and being that makes me more authentic, and people see that. And listen, not everybody is going to work with me. Not everyone's going to like the way I look or what I say or how I act, but the ones that are going to benefit from working with me are going to come to me and appreciate it.
You know, we have a lot of conversations here, and they seem to track back to authenticity. And part of the mission of the show is to teach people that are listening how our business is intertwined with our lives, just like you said. So can you talk about...
You can't help it these days.
No, you can't. And can you, Joan...
No, you can't.
Tell us more about how important that is for you, especially for a branding perspective?
Absolutely. You know how some people say, I turn off on weekends. I don't check email for work. I don't this, I don't that. That's not how I wanted to live, because I want to be there and I want to be loving what I'm doing. And I want to, yes, of course, we need days off. We need time off. We need to turn off. But my life is my business and my business is my life. And can I relate this directly to both What Women Want and to the upcoming Spirit of Women conference? Judy and I literally just talked about this on Tuesday, and it was so important for me. I didn't realize until I started my own business and I really started targeting my market, which are people who, I do social media marketing and engagement, people who know they need to be online, maybe don't know how or know how, but just don't want to do it themselves. And I tried to segment all areas. I even have a dream board on the back of my door that separates everything. I have one area of a future, a farm, a sanctuary, this, that, and the other thing that I want. One area for my love life, which doesn't exist yet, but will. One area for my business, one area for friendship and family, and one area for even food and things like that, an apartment. And once I started talking actually with Judy about this, I realized if I don't bring all of these pieces of my life together and literally intertwine them and make them like a sort of like a crocheted blanket of some sort, then I'm not really living my life. I'm living pieces of my life.
Now you see, Kristen, you see what I do to people?
I know, Judy, and you're doing it to me too.
It makes me think.
You better be warned out there.
And I was thinking about when I was doing I did a Facebook Live for the first time ever in a T-shirt, no makeup, and I just sat there, where I record out of my office from New York, because I record by satellite from New York, and Kristen is in our studio in LA. And I felt so weird going on and just being me. But that's really what I'm trying to push myself to do, because I keep telling people to do that with their business and their life. And these days, unfortunately or fortunately, like you said, Joan, I mean, you're working on weekends. A lot of us are entrepreneurs, so we really can't avoid it. But it does cross over so much. And there's only so much you can do to hold it back. Isn't that right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And, we talked about this, Judy, the other day. I slapped on a little bit of pink lipstick, Kristen, pink lipstick, did my hair a little bit, was wearing shorts and a T-shirt. You couldn't see very much in the video, but I did the pink lipstick not for the audience, but because it made me feel better. And it made me speak, right? It made me speak better, and it made me happy to do that. And as I'm looking, it did. It really did. I swear to you, the pink lipstick made me happier, and so it made me feel more relaxed, and it made me more comfortable, and it made me feel good about myself. So I'm not saying that that's right for everybody. I have a client who's a huge New York City attorney. He is most comfortable in a suit every day, but he doesn't wear your typical, blue pinstripe suit with a vest. He wears fun suits and happy suits for him. And he wears different types of shoes and hats. So it's the look and it's the feel and it's about being you. I'm a big mouth woman. I talk a lot. I talk loudly. Sometimes Judy and she has to say, Joan, reel it in. And that's fine. My family says the same thing, Joan, inside voice, Joan. But I also scream out loud on my clients' social media every day for them so that they get noticed. And so if I don't do that, if I don't do the one, I can't do the other because I'm being who I am. So you either love me or you hate me. And hopefully you don't hate me too much, but you like my pink lipstick and you listen to what I say. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you how it is. And I just actually stopped working with a client for 2 months. We decided to go on hiatus because we both need to regroup, because the business for him is not intertwined with his life. He is completely separate. He won't follow up. He's not getting anywhere with it. He's blaming me for it. And I said, well, here's the issue. We're both not doing what we're supposed to do to move your business forward. We strategize, but then it disappears. So it's not helping either one of us. This is what Spirit of Women and Spirit of Life is all about. I mean, this is why you're doing this, Judy, because it's about life intertwining with everything else and making sure we're being authentic and we're being heard for who and what we are when we're out there.
Now, Joan, I want to dig deeper into social media because you are the maven of this and you are the dynamic connector, as it says on your website. There's so many social media outlets. There's Pinterest, there's Twitter, there's Tumblr, there's Snapchat. There's it just grows and grows and grows. And what you spoke about with your live video, that's the zeitgeist right now, is everybody's got to be on live video. How has the proliferation of social media impacted the way people communicate their brand? What special skills and tools do people need to really seize the moment when it comes to social media in particular?
That's such a great question, and I'm so glad you mentioned it, because live video is so important. And Judy and I did a live video like 4 different times on Tuesday together because technology was just not cooperating with us. But let me tell you right now that no matter what we do, it's about still the brand and the content that brand creates and how you put that out there. So whether it be, some photos and some interesting information on Pinterest for someone to gather and use in their regular life or their business, or it's a video on Facebook that's live, which, by the way, the live videos are getting exponentially more hits, 300% more than any other thing we're doing on social media. It's a dog-eat-dog
particularly
game
on Facebook
right now. Particularly on Facebook. And there's live video now on every platform. You can go to Instagram and do a live video in your story. You can go on Twitter and do live video. You can go on Facebook. You started originally with a Google Hangout. That was the first foray into live video. What it does is it gives people instantaneous access to you. You get the feedback immediately for what's going right, what's not going so right, and how you can change that along the way. And then you can take that and you can take that to the next level and use it in your advertising and in the rest of your branding. Judy, I love that you said that you went and did this online with a t-shirt, because you are teaching people. Now, that's not going to work for everybody. It's not going to work for my client. If he's not in a business suit as an attorney in New York City, they're not going to have the same level of confidence in him. However, I have gotten him in like a weird shirt that he wore that you could be wearing if you went to the Indy 500. So he wore this shirt one day, but he talked about why. So as long as you're giving your audience the reason why you're doing what you're doing and you're having them help prepare this along the way and move forward with you, then you're being authentic. So, you can wear your t-shirt, slap on your pink lipstick, and you're good to go.
Joan, I'm all about lip gloss, honey, not lipstick.
I know, and I like the pink lipstick.
see, and what I do, just so I know people care deeply about this, what I do is I stain my lips with lipstick, take it off, and then swap the lip gloss on. But that's what I do.
Very cool.
But you know,
I love it.
I like that.
It works for me. But you know, Joan, we did an informal poll on Twitter just to see what people felt about branding. And our little poll, which was thoroughly unscientific and stuff, indicated that communicating our brand is one of our biggest issues and concerns. And you and I had talked in the past. I remember one of our last pleasant conversations, you and I both agreed that social media takes writing skills, and that's something that's really often overlooked. How do we communicate?
Absolutely.
How do we communicate our brand more effectively? To me, less is more. Obviously, it gets rewarded on platforms like Twitter. What do you think?
Right.
Yeah, and just 140 characters. Seriously.
Exactly. Well, I just retweeted what you posted on Twitter, Kristen, because I'm being authentic and I'm living my brand, and I'm actually tweeting at the same time that we're talking. So that's fun. And I do see that.
Oh, I put one out too.
That. Excellent. And I tweeted Paula and I tweeted Judy as well. So, and I absolutely agree. It's all about the communication of your brand. And I'm actually going through this with a lot of my clients. I have to say right now, there is no right and no wrong answer. You're going to get something different from every single person you ask. And get this, your brand is going to change along the way, depending on what it is. When I first met Judy, her brand was way more suit than it is now T-shirt. So your brand changes. Now, how you communicate that, listen, you're fighting for every single thing that's happening
My
online.
brand was more suit? Is that what you said?
Yes, it was more suit and dresses, and now it's more T-shirt. Like you just said, you would not have in maybe 3-4 years ago, I doubt you would have gone on air with just a T-shirt.
No, never. And no makeup.
Right?
But it seems like my no makeup videos get the most views. But that's not why I did it.
And that's
but yeah,
that's your real life.
You know why? Because so many people, I show up all around the country speaking and on TV and doing a lot of appearances and all that type of thing. And so many people seem to want to just kind of know something else. You know, they want the real me. And really, honestly, cowboy boots, jeans, and T-shirts, that's the real me. So when I'm doing a show or something a little more formal, I feel like that's the real me, too, because I love it and that's my passion. But if you really want to get down to it, at 9 o'clock at night, I'm doing radio. I'm not going to be doing the makeup and dressing up and all that. You know what? At this point, at this time, this is me.
Absolutely. And you know what, Judy? But that's all you. And that's the beauty of it. You're just showing all the pieces of you. You just intertwined your brand with your life.
Woo-hoo!
And your brand and your life are interchangeable. And, you know, I don't want to beat a dead horse or beat an alive horse either. I want to just say that it's all about how we communicate that. So it's about doing something smartly. Like certain
that's
times
exactly what Kristen's doing, right? With her pink lipstick and the horror show films, and she's flipping back and forth. Like, I'm a Gemini, so I have an excuse, but you know, she's combining them beautifully and succinctly. So it does show different sides of us, different modalities, different perspectives of who we are, because we're not just one dimensional.
Listen, I don't eat salad 24/7. I like variety. We all do. Nobody's eating, you know, a peanut butter sandwich every single day, and that's the only thing they're ever eating. That's not what anybody will do. And so we need to and there's different facets of our life, and there's different facets of our brand. And really, the point is just figure out how you want to communicate to your audience, who your audience is, how you want to communicate your audience, and stay on your brand. I'm going through this with one of my clients right now where he's an influencer in the health and wellness arena. And he does a lot of things, like he's a vegan chef and he adjusts people. He's a chiropractor and he's attending charity events all the time. But he also believes heavily in supporting local farmers markets and things. So we want to show all assets, all aspects and assets of his brand. But certain times when you're communicating that online, you don't want to confuse people. So you also want to stick to what is your brand trying to communicate to people, and make sure they understand that up front and don't throw too much out. I'm working on this with myself. So if you look at my information that goes out there, I'm figuring it out as I go along, but I am being authentic, and I'm not hiding the fact that I'm trying to figure it out. I'm not consistent with how I'm posting and the look of what I'm posting on Instagram or on Twitter or on Facebook. I am consistent in the message. My message is you need to be communicating and collaborating, and it's all about creating relationships, not just connections, not just likes, not just following.
Now, Joan, where do we find you on social media? So that we can, because I know there are people out there dying to get more of Joan, because you're just one giant fireball of energy and enthusiasm for life. So where do we find more of Joan?
Well,
and besides the fact that she's twittering out posts about the show and doing an interview, she's also simultaneously at an event for one of her clients. So it's like, so this really is her life. I just want to put that in there.
I really, I don't really require much sleep, though. At the end of 2 weeks of doing this, I do need like a full day at home, and I do hibernate and get my energy back. But you guys can all find me on either Instagram or Twitter at Joan Pelzer NYC. I'm on Facebook as Joan Pelzer and Joan Pelzer Media. I'm on LinkedIn as Joan Pelzer. So everything is my name, Joan Pelzer. And actually, I was originally called Joni, Joanie, and most people still call me Joni. And I'll tell you very quickly why. My grandfather, my Italian grandfather, named me when my mom was in the hospital giving birth to me. He walked in and said, I just saw my little Joni, because he called my grandmother, who was named Josephine, he called her Joni instead of Josie, because her best friend was Josie. So that's how I got Joni, and I was, of course, named Joan instead of Joni because it's easier, and it's a saint, and I was baptized, so it had to be a saint's name, and hence I'm still Joni. So, but
well, Joni, we love every side of it. We'll take all of the Jones.
I love being with you. Well, thank you all for having me, because this has been really wonderful, and I will continue to tweet you while I'm at this event.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to come on the show and to share with us all of your
expertise. And I do want to say, everyone needs to go to Spirit of Women Conference and come to our conference. And I hope they do it before the tickets run out, because I'm a little nervous about that people won't get to come.
I can't believe the hotel's already three-fourths booked, the rooms that we have blocked. It's so exciting. Yep. Okay, thanks, Joni.
It's crazy.
We were talking about...
Thank you all.
Trying to keep track of it all. I don't know how Joan does it, but I certainly can't even keep track of myself. And now I want to bring on Paula Conway, who is a well-known entrepreneur, media and communications expert, a 5-time author, guest speaker, publisher, and the president of Astonish Media Group in New York City. Paula, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Judy. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, we're excited to have you. You know, you've been in business 18 years now. Congratulations.
Thank you.
No, that's big. I mean, a PR company in New York City for 18 years, that is huge that you've, hung in there, and you're very successful. Now, we were talking just now about, kind of keeping track of it all. I'm not exactly sure how Joan does it, because she's got the whole social media thing and different clients and all that. She gave us a little bit of insight into, the hows and whys. And you, on the other hand, have the same, I would imagine. I was a publicist for 5 minutes at one point. And it's really hard when you have, everyone is different. Everyone has their own individuality, right? They have their own brand, their own messaging. And you really, really want to drive that home to the people that you're pitching them to and that type of thing. First of all, I want to know what you do in your PR agency, but then how do you kind of keep track of that all and keep it all consistent? Because that might give us some insight into how we can keep ourselves consistent also.
Well, it's a really good question. It's actually a really big question, first let me tell you about Astonish. So we are a strategic media company, and that is how we refer to ourselves. Our clients will say that we are their PR firm, and that's not untrue. But the broader landscape is that we do a lot of public relations, we do some branding, we do social media, and we do a lot of business strategy and client representation. So we help our clients get book deals, we help them, land TV shows, we negotiate a lot of deals for them, and and help produce television shows that we've produced in-house. And the genesis of all of that was really, my background's very eclectic, as is my husband's, having both been, I was not a career PR person. My background is actually as a journalist and a Broadway press agent. So it evolved out of our areas of expertise, and most of our business is by word of mouth, I think, because we are so different and so unique. And what we focus on is creating a sustainable brand story for our clients that will foster revenue sources. So when you ask the question, how do we keep track of these things, it depends in what context you're asking that question, because our clients that come to us, let's talk about early stage startups, because I think in listening to the earlier part of the show, the context is small businesses and individual entrepreneurs. And that is easier than when you actually have an early stage startup. So if a startup or a small company comes to you and they want public relations, most of the time they don't understand what their own brand is. I'll be quite honest with you. They haven't invested the time in it or the money. Sometimes it's intentional and sometimes it's not. And it's a very, very big challenge, because branding is quite literally everything. It is everything. It's your logo, it's your Pantones, it's your messaging, it's the releases you put out, it's the fact that you must not have any typos in them, it's your actions, it's your body language, and Joan is correct, it is your authenticity. So
it's good to know we got the name of the show right.
Yes, you did. But to ask that of clients that don't understand really the big picture of what they're doing is a big piece of the cookie to chew. And so what we do is we ease them into it slowly, hitting them over the head with a hammer and saying, by the way, did you notice that all of your images on social media are different? Boom, big branding mistake. Won't really get us far. So we ease into it, and we bring the branding in as part of the context of the public relations work that we're doing as well, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And still the part of kind of keeping your clients on track with, who they are and what they are. What are some of the things that you need to ask them or find out about them to figure out who exactly they are? Now, it's funny that you said that sometimes people, intentionally or unintentionally don't really know who they are and don't know their branding. I went through that for a few years, and I really feel like after 5.5 years of growing my company of What Women Want Networking, which used to be over 40 females, that I'm really coming around to who and what I am finally. It's taken a long time because I didn't have someone like you helping me. So how do you how do you pull it out of them, the specific?
And Judy, that's okay. We learn about this when we learn about it. We get it when we get it, and I didn't get it overnight myself. So we're all a work in progress. I just want to say that. And so I use a variety of different strategies to help my clients get to that place. I'll give an example. We have a very interesting client in the healthcare space that has a solution for diabetics. And he has no idea what his brand is. And his messaging, okay, so we're talking about different things here. Messaging is literally the language you use to describe your company, is very different from what he does when he goes out and speaks, and he has not connected those dots. And then when press releases go out and they give their input on what should be said, it has nothing to do with the actual messaging that's on the website. So there are different tactics that we will employ depending on what they need. If it's a client that we can speak to a bit more transparently, then we will just have that conversation and say none of these things make sense. When we're interviewing a client up front, we will ask them these questions like, what is your messaging? What are the core pillars of your brand? What do you think your brand represents? So there are little exercises that you can go through. But even when you do that, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will come around to having the conversation fully with you. And there are certain tactics that we'll use to get them there. So in this case, this particular client is not a good speaker, is losing out on awards because of it. I know exactly why, but he's not somebody that will hear it from me. And that goes into a whole discussion of business and how you conduct business. But I brought in a branding expert who's very well known. She has over 3 million views on her TED Talk. She trains CEOs and entrepreneurs for TED Talks. She's got a 100% hit rate, and she's really a ball buster. And I said, you know what, you need media training, and you need this woman. And he trusts me. So he said, okay, she's very expensive. That's all right. I said, you need to budget for it. And I brought her in, and within the first 50 minutes, she was able to show him why he was losing these awards and how his branding wasn't connecting. Now, I told him all these things, but he didn't hear it from me. And sometimes people don't hear these things from you, depending on the context in which they've hired you. So I will use outside sources and references to get them where I need them to go. And sometimes it's a journalist. A journalist will just say to me, you sent me this press release. It doesn't add up. I don't see that on their website. And that is enough fuel for me to say, oh, this very important producer at NPR said this. That helps too.
Kristen?
You know, I think we all need a ball buster sometimes. But what you say is absolutely true. Sometimes when you're consulting with someone, I find this as a producer, this sometimes happens to me. Sometimes when you're talking with someone trying to get them on the path to getting something right, you're not the messenger that they need.
Right. Exactly.
Now, one of the things, and I have to tell you, I found your choice of Astonish as an interesting choice for a brand name. Why did you choose that?
Such an interesting question, and very few people ask me that question, so thank you for asking me, Kristen. I was on an airplane. It had to have been, the name of the company changed over these 18 years, so it was about 15 years ago, and I was going to Atlanta. I'm also a well-known travel writer, so I was doing a travel story. I was doing some Gone with the Wind trilogy, I think, for the Boston Herald. And I was on the plane, and I happened to be sitting in first class, and there was this really well-dressed gentleman next to me, and there was just something really very interesting about him, and we got to talking, and it turns out he's a music producer, in this big music company. And I said, oh, what's the name of your company? And he said, well, I just thought of it this morning, and because he had just started this brand, and he said, I'm going to call it Astonish. And I looked at him and I said, that is a great name for a company. That is a brilliant name for a company. I came home from that trip. I talked to my husband, who's an attorney. I said, go trademark that. I want that trademark right away. That is just brilliant. And so I beat him to the punch, and it's my company now.
Wow.
That's astonishing. What was the name of your company before?
It was under my maiden name, which was Paula Wenger, so it was PWPR, and my first office was on 42nd Street, and I opened it while I was completing my master's at Columbia. Foolish thing to do, but I did it.
Now, I just changed the name of my company this year, at the beginning of the year. It was Over 40 Females for, almost, I guess for 5 years. And it took me 2 years of thinking about it and 1 year of getting up the guts and doing the research and making sure that I was right doing it. How did you know at that moment? Were you looking to change the name, or was it just kind of a lightning bolt out of the sky? The universe was like, okay, this is it. Mm-hmm. How do you know? Because that's a huge thing to do.
Well, I wasn't going to keep my maiden name.
Especially for, publicity, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't going to keep my maiden name. There were a lot of transitions happening because I started as a Broadway press agent, and so I had all these Broadway clients, and my client base was changing tremendously. And yes, I knew I was going to change it. The problem with that name is that it sets a very high bar in the business that we do, which is often tough on the people that work for Astonish, because if I see an email that went out and they misused every day as one word as opposed to two, because I'm a very big language stickler, I will come on down on them like a ton of bricks. You are talking to journalists. Yes, it's true the millennials may not know the difference. That is true. But if you're talking to somebody probably 40 plus at the New York Times, they are, and I don't ever want my company to not look astonishing. So they learn very, very quickly. They better write well. It better be constructed well. There better not be typos. The commas better be in the right place, and that better be a damn good pitch.
Yeah, I have the same issues. They're not issues. They're, it's a good thing. But I hear where you're coming from, because I was a magazine editor for 2 magazines. I'm a published author with St. Martin's Press. And, I write for New York Lifestyles magazine. I'm constantly in the press. And when somebody puts something on my website or does something, writes something for me, I'm the same way. I'm like, how could you have, a typo in there? I'm an editor and an author, and,
Right.
you just can't, when I was first building my company, the first few years, everything that every single person wrote had to come by me. It just had to come by me, and now it can't, unfortunately, because we've gotten bigger. But I am a stickler with that also. And I think we're losing a little bit of that with the social media aspect, in that people don't capitalize things and they rush too quickly, and then just to get it out there on the phones, and they're in a hurry. So I feel like we lose a little bit of that. Kristen, how do you feel about that? Because you're being brought up really in a world that's, just completely covered with social media, and you're very well educated and eloquent when you speak, and when you write emails, it's they're perfect. It's not about that. What are your thoughts on that?
Language is constantly in flux. If the people from the Middle Ages who spoke Middle English were hearing us right now, they'd be like, oh my goodness, what are they doing with our beautiful language? We don't speak the language of Shakespeare, and that's kind of disappointing on some levels. I do believe in clarity at utmost. If anything else, be clear. Try to spell correctly, even if you look it up. But I think
there's those little red lines on the emails telling you, that you have a word that's not spelled, which is astonishing, no pun intended, to me, when people do have a misspelled word that has the spell check.
Well, it's about caring too, and I can tell that Paula cares deeply, and that you care deeply, and I know I care deeply about what we do and how we present. And I think everybody needs to feel and care deeply, and that's I think what's missing is people just kind of rattle it off as if communication is disposable, because now we have disposable communication in the form of Snapchat. But
right,
and I think that's a pitfall of our communication. And even in brands, when they carelessly communicate, a really bad tweet. How many brands have suffered because of a really bad tweet or a really bad, casual reference? What do you think is a pitfall when it comes to branding in this ultra communicative world, Paula?
First of all, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing. The communication, if you call it that, which is what the generation that is now uses, which is the social media mostly, is not communication. I would argue that it's something else. It may perhaps be a form of communication, but that is really my point. We hire millennials as interns. So we have a really robust intern program. They have no idea how to communicate. They don't know how to have conversation, because conversations happen by tweets and by text. That's not communicating. That's something else. They don't know how to have conversations. They don't know how to come to a phone call. They are definitely not confrontational, because they don't have to be, because it's all done in this virtual cloud kind of world. So if somebody leaves, or if they quit because they realize their sorority commitments were more than they thought, they don't call you and have a conversation like we did, because that was the appropriate and professional thing to do, because nobody's teaching them that standard. They just send a tweet or a text or an email that says, oh, sorry, I have to leave early because of this. So, you've got an interesting dichotomy going on in the world today, because you have different generations now with different standards of communicating with each other. So when I talk to graduating classes at Columbia University and I give advice on going out into the working world, I said, remember something right now. The people you're going to work for are going to be Gen X or Boomer. we don't communicate the same way. We have learned this communication. I mean, we're very adept at it, obviously. But our basic thrust of how we communicate with each other is going to be very different from yours. And so I tell them, get on the phone, talk face to face, do not avoid confrontations, speak exactly what you need, ask the right questions, teaching them how to have these conversations because they actually literally do not know. In terms of language, it's just been mauled and mutilated. There's just no way around it. It is in constant flux, but that's different from using, and not an excuse for using, poor language. I mean, when you're talking about tweets and you're talking about Instagram, you have more space. That's just different. I don't even the bar for that is just so low in the 140 characters, or 40 characters less rather. That what you actually have to do is you have to figure out a way to market properly, which is different. That's marketing messaging. That's not really communication like we're talking about. So you really have to compartmentalize these different things and figure out what the purpose is. If you're using Instagram, that's a purpose. If you're using Twitter, which is full of noise and very, very hard to build an audience with, how are you using it and why are you using it? And I would call that copy. I wouldn't call that really communication in terms of expressing a thought and a 360-degree idea. That's copy.
Now, that's a good point about the branding and the marketing, because a lot of times those things are lumped together and people don't know the differentiation between them. Can you explain to our audience what exactly the difference is and how to leverage one against the other?
So let's use McDonald's as an example. One of the most interesting brands that we've had. So McDonald's actually started in the 50s. The brand actually started to take place and build in the 70s, which is when really companies really started to understand, learn about, and effectively put branding into place. And what Ray Kroc really was doing was corporatization of McDonald's. But the feeling that he got across, right, was wholesome, family, a nutritious meal for less money. And it was a very simple thing. It was a very simple idea. What do you think of? You think of family. You think of kids. You think of something wholesome, something safe. That's branding. It's the feeling that you get. You have 3 to 5 seconds to make an impression on somebody. What you do and how you do it within that period of time is conveying your brand. They did a very, very good job at it. Marketing is how they get the message out. It's a mechanism. It's the posters, it's the advertisements, it's putting the messaging into those. All of the colors and the Pantones and the images and the actors that they use is all part of that bigger picture, which is how are we going to convey this message, this warm, fuzzy feeling that we want you to have when you go to bed at night, when you think of us, every time you see the golden arches, you know it's safe, you know you're going to get. That is the branding part of it. It's the big picture. The marketing part is just the mechanism, the tools that you're using to get it out.
And to convert.
Right.
Excellent. Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your, expertise on all of this. Branding is everything. I love how you separated out the categories for us and explained, the difference and how incredibly important all of it is. Kristen, did you have any more questions? I know we don't have much time left.
I did have one. How do we know if we're due for a rebrand? I'm just asking.
It's a great question. It depends on the line of business you're in, but I would say...
You got to hire Astonish Media Group.
No, well, yes. But what I was going to say really is, Kristen, you mentioned something earlier too about branding and getting to the right brand, which is, by the way, a lot of divergent brainstorming with multiple people. But if you're not converting, so that's really what it is. And by converting, I don't mean just making money. I don't mean just cash coming in the door. What is it that you want? If you want speaking engagements and you're not getting them, you're not doing something right, and you're not presenting yourself properly. If your company is set up and it's not making money, part of that brand experience is something you're not doing, many things you're not doing, and it all adds up, and that includes you. So, and are you comfortable? I look at Gary Vaynerchuk as, Vaynerchuk Media, $1 billion company, started by one guy who's not particularly good looking, who doesn't dress particularly well, but connects with people and believes everything he delivers every day. And you know it because he's his brand. And the same way that you were talking, Kristen, about wearing pink, and that you love it and you should never apologize for it. You should be an unapologetic woman. The point is, you have to be authentic. And that may just be you sitting down with a team of people and really writing down, what do I stand for? Who's my ideal client? What are the 5 things I want to get this year? How do I want to get those things? How much money do I want to be making by that? It's a long list of things, but you have to take the time to focus and to really write it down. What do you want?
Well, I think
Oh my gosh.
everybody needs to sit down with you and do this. Tell us where we find you online.
AstonishMediaGroup.com, on Instagram at AstonishMedia, and on Twitter at Astonish Media on Twitter, and at Astonish Media Group on Instagram.
Wasn't Gary Vaynerchuk, we have like 30 seconds, the guy who started his company talking about wine?
Yes, Wine TV. Got in front of YouTube and did it.
I think I'm going to take a bottle of vodka and start talking about it tomorrow.
Do it.
And take my martini glass. Well, it was such a pleasure to have you on the show, Paula. You taught us so much in 30 minutes that we probably for 3 hours, if we were sitting here talking, we have an encyclopedia written, although people don't really read those anymore, right? No, you were fantastic, and we learned so much. And Kristen, thank you again for being such a great co-host on the show. And everyone else, thank you for listening. We next week have Pamela Horton. She's coming back to the show, the founder of Maven's Connections. This girl's hooked up, let me tell you. She will find anyone to pair your business with to help you succeed to your highest potential. And Miriam Goldstein, a health coach and hypnotist, who will show us how to wrap in emotional healing to also reach our highest potential. See you next week. Good night.
You're listening to What Women Want with Judy Goss, only on LA Talk Radio.